donkeys and mules are similar but also very different, and they are different from large horses. Ponies are similar to large horses, but they do have digestive differences. They aren't just small horses. Also, there are many different breeds of ponies. Most of the ponies here at the sanctuary are Shetland ponies, miniature Shetlands. We do also have a Welsh cross and a Connemara. There's actually over 100 breeds of pony in the world. They range in size from very small to larger, almost full-sized. A pony is typically underneath 14 hands, and a hand is 4 inches, and that's always measured at the shoulder here. Anytime I talk about height, I'm talking about the shoulder here. Quite often when you have larger ponies, they will be bred with big horses to make even larger pony. So like we have a Welsh quarter horse cross, that's Willie, and we have a Welsh Arabian cross, that's Pre. So that's kind of your general ponies. Donkeys are desert animals that are closely related to the pony and the horse, but they are different species. They're equus, but they are a different species of equus. Donkeys, as opposed to ponies, are usually divided by height rather than breed. There are some different breeds around the world, but most often, especially in North America, donkeys are divided by height. So you have miniature donkeys that are under 36 inches at the shoulder. You have standards that are 36 to 48, and that would be like chocolate pudding. You have large standards, which are 48 inches to 54 or 56, depending on whether it's a Jenny or a Jack. And Jackie would be a large standard. And then anything over 56 inches is considered mammoth jackstock. And mammoth jackstock are your large ones that you can ride. Quite often, mammoth jackstock are bred with horses to create mules. And Jackie actually has part mammoth jackstock in him. His father was mammoth. Mules, on the other hand, are a cross between a horse and a donkey, or a pony and a donkey. If the donkey is the father, it's considered a mule. If the donkey is the mother, it's a hinny. Mules are considered a hybrid, so they are actually sterile and cannot breed on their own. But they are popular because, like most hybrids, they take the best attributes of both their parents and then become a very strong and steady animal. Genetically, they are quite different. They're all equus, but they are genetically different. Ponies have 64 chromosomes. Donkeys have 62 chromosomes. And the hybrids, our mules, have 63 chromosomes, and that odd number of chromosomes is why they are sterile. There are some really easy visual differences that allow you to tell the difference between a pony and a donkey and a mule. The first one is their ears. The size of the ears is a great way to spot the difference, because ponies have tiny little teddy bear ears, like Gandalf here. Donkeys have large ears, and mules are somewhere in between. Also, you'll notice it's kind of interesting that ponies' ears attach lower on the head than a donkey's or a mule's. A donkey's ears will be more up on top here. Ponies are down here. Right, buddy? Donkey's ears tend to be, they're actually attached quite a bit higher, and they have a larger attachment. They're wider around as well than a pony's. And then your mules will be somewhere in between. There's also differences in the eyes between ponies and donkeys and mules. A pony's eyes tend to be more rounded, and they stick out further from their head. They're also closer to the top of the head than a donkey's are. Donkey's eyes show up about a third of the way down their head. They're very hooded with large brows that protect them from the desert sun. So you can see how much bigger Bonnie's brows are and how they shade her eyes. And that's because of her being a desert animal, and that protects her eyes from the sun. Mules, on the other hand, have eyes that are situated similar to ponies, but they do tend to have the donkey's larger brows. Here's Penny's eyes with the big brows. Donkeys have a much wider face bone than horses. You can see on Clyde here, he has a very wide face. They also have a lighter colored nose with large nostrils. Ponies will have a narrower face and a longer, thinner nose, And on ponies, the color goes all the way down to the bottom. The color goes all the way down to the bottom, and so they don't have that lighter nose. Their nostrils are also smaller than a donkey's. Mules often have the lighter nose of a donkey, unless they are called a no light points mule like Penny. But they have a face that's narrower than a donkey, but their nostrils are larger than a horse. So once again, they're in between. Ponies usually have softer body hair, and they tend to have long manes and tails with long forelock that protect their eyes. Donkeys will have a lot coarser hair than a pony or a mule. Their hair absorbs the water instead of shedding it. A pony's hair will shed water. A donkey's hair will absorb the water. That makes them more susceptible to trouble when there's cold rain or sleet. Donkeys also have short manes and not much of a forelock. So you can see on Bonnie here, her short little mane and how she has no forelock and how her hair is much coarser. Donkeys also have a rope-like tail. Instead of, like a horse's tail is long and has lots of hair, donkeys' tails, they have this rope-like tail with a little fluff on the end. Mules will also have a short mane like a donkey, but they will have a long horse-like tail. Their coat can either be pony-like or donkey-like, depending on the mule. The ponies will also roll in the dirt, but they tend to shake it off afterwards, whereas a donkey will keep all that dirt in there because it helps protect them against bugs. Donkeys also take a lot longer to shed out in the summer in our climate because they are desert animals. So sometimes they don't fully shed their winter hair before growing new winter hair. You can see Clyde here already has lots of winter hair. Ponies, donkeys, and mules also come in a variety of different colors. Donkeys, you will notice, are normally gray, reddish gray, brown, or spotted, but can also be black. And all donkeys have this cross on their withers and down their back. Sometimes it's a little harder to see. If a donkey is white, the white will cover the cross, but it's still under there. A spotted donkey like Horton, his white spots will cover his cross, but you can see his cross underneath the white spots. Donkeys can also have zippers on their legs and collar buttons. Ponies come in many colors, the same as large horses. At the sanctuary, we have black, bay, sorrel or chestnut, palomino, white, gray, pinto, spotted Appaloosa, all kinds of colors of ponies. Mules tend to most often be either brown or bay with a black mane and tail, but they can also be fully black like Penny, and Penny is a no light points mule because she doesn't have the light nose. Ponies, donkeys, and mules also have very different hooves. So a pony has hooves that look like a horse's hooves, but they're just on a smaller scale. They are usually at about a 45-degree angle, and they have all the similar structures to a horse's hoof. The frog on the hoof will take up about 2/3 of the foot, and then the part in front of the frog is 1/3. A donkey, on the other hand, is much more upright. They have narrower hooves. On the bottom, their hooves are more of a half and half. The frog takes up half of the hoof, and then the front of the hoof is the other half. And they can flex their hooves a lot more than a pony can, which makes them kind of the mountain goats of the equine world. A mule's hooves are somewhere in between and can be more like a horse or like a donkey, just depending on the individual mule. And you'll notice I'm saying that a lot because that's what happens when you have a hybrid. They can take more from the mother or more from the father, just depending on the individual. Donkeys also grow more sole than a pony because they are designed to travel long distances on rough terrain. Another big difference that you will notice, and I will put up some clips here, is the noise that they make. Ponies will make a whinny like a horse. Ours tend to be kind of a little bit more gruff than a horse. Donkeys have a loud bray, or the typical hee-haw. And then a mule is somewhere in between again. They will start out as a whinny and end in a bray quite often. And it depends on the mule too, because Derby sounds like a tiger roaring, and Ellie and Penny, Ellie sounds very loud and Penny sounds squeaky. Cyrus is loud. It just depends on the mule. The lifespan of ponies, donkeys, and mules is quite different as well. A pony typically lives 20 to 30 years, although they can live into their 40s. We have had some in their 40s. They typically live longer than a large horse, similar to how small dogs will live longer than large dogs. And they are considered seniors once they hit their 20s. A donkey, on the other hand, can live easily 40 to 50 years. And the oldest donkey on record was actually 72 when she died. She lived down in the States. And we consider donkeys seniors once they hit their 30s. We consider them to be seniors. A mule will have a lifespan somewhere in between. Typically, mules can live anywhere from 20 to 40 years easily, and we consider them seniors in their 20s and 30s.